live.
Oh, hey, we're live. Yay. I'm back, finally. Yeah.
And I'm touching the microphone and it's
don't
feedback.
do that.
All right. The camera looks like it's lower than usual, so we're taller. Yeah, it's fine.
That's fine.
Less bookshelf. So
For some reason, the camera position always makes me think that like it makes you look like a giant. I mean, like this tiny little thing, and I'm like, we are okay. You're bigger, but there's not that much of a height discrepancy in real life.
Right.
It's like that Lord of the Rings style forced perspective.
We have to do that. Yeah, you have to do the. Yeah, if you sit back even further, you'll be Frodo size pretty soon. Yeah. Nice. So how have you been? What's gaming news? What's the gaming news in your life? Any minis? Any micro minis?
Between kid and work and getting sick or like other people getting sick, like it sucks. But I've not had the motivation to do anything. Like they just they sit there and I go, I should probably paint these. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, right. Well, I saw an announcement from your favorite miniatures producing company. They just acquired some full color printing machines, so they're going to be printing color minis. Kind of pre-painted, basically.
I have to I'm interested in knowing kind of the logistics and technique of printing. Colored miniatures, right?
Yeah.
Because thinking of like FDM prints, like it just changes the spool, or like if it's a resin print, like how does that work? Like how many passes do you have to go? I don't know.
And you're relying on the artist, that created the 3D, so that might make a lot of things better. A few of the samples that they just had some quick snaps of stuff on a table in an office. But it's got nice gradients and stuff, so it's capable. It doesn't look like super saturated colors, so maybe the material absorbs it, or maybe it's embedded into the material. There's like just a layer of color that gets printed.
Oh, there's a layer of color that gets printed.
It seems like it, because it seems like it's not so bright, but it's they can do very complex colors.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that'll be, whiz kids and stuff better look out. That's gonna, if they can do it affordably, that's gonna hurt there, because they charge way too much for those Chinese painted, for those Chinese painted minis. So. We'll see. But if they have their logistics problems where they're doing broken things and they're not doing great customer support.
I got I got a decent number of comments on the complaint that I had. I mean, like from Instagram, and it seems that as long as they're larger miniatures, like 28 millimeter scale, there's minimal breakage, probably because things are decently packed, or at least big enough to survive transport, and that crinkle paper actually works as a cushion. So like 6 millimeter stuff, just forget about it. Yeah, no.
Yeah, and people, that's the kind of sustainability or the eco thing that's going on. People are moving away from packaging material that works and using paper now, more sustainable materials. And so that's going to be frustrating, I think, for some industries, as they can't package things as well as they used to, because they can only wrap things in corrugated paper and things. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. So I got they did a press release about that full color thing. I didn't get a chance to read it through, but they seem pretty excited about it. They're pushing it pretty hard, because I think it's a big step for them to go directly from, and for the artists too, maybe, that they're supporting, to have painted minis straight out of the gate.
I'll have to look into what kind of percentage the artists get, because that's kind of like that's one reason to use the onlygames.co, is that like the person who created the STLs has chosen to allow their thing to be printed and gets a cut of the sales.
Yeah, I wonder what the My Mini factory split. It's probably, it's the same company now, so it might be similar.
I think whenever I bought STLs from My Mini, I think it was something like, they said like the artist gets like 90%.
Oh,
hopefully,
wow.
like,
yeah, that would be great.
It's a decent, I think.
Yeah, because they're just they're doing the transaction. They're just doing the credit card process and everything. So hopefully it's a
good, I think they're also storing the
STL, right.
But they've got to be,
Yeah, that's good, though. That if it's that kind of split, it would be worth supporting, because then those artists can make a living, instead of the Amazon model of, we take almost everything and you can screw off. All right. Let me take a quick look in the chat. So, hey, Matt, how's it going? Cool. Oh, Matt's working on a D100 background table. 2/3 done. That's pretty impressive.
So 66.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Background table, like mountains. Forest.
I think character background.
Okay.
Character backgrounds for character generation. And this is for the Weird West system that he's working on. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so that'll be fun to see.
So it's going to be like Drifter, Outlaw, Orphan.
Drifter Outlaw. Drifter Orphan Outlaw.
Well, depending on how many times you get to roll, it could be a Drifter Outlaw Orphan. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's background, not what you are now.
Right. Yes, what inspired your misdeeds. Very cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see that, Matt. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Those like random tables are great when you're using them. When you got to write them, you're like,
right.
Christ, I got to come up with like 50 more of these things.
Yeah.
It's now a D50 table.
Yeah, and you get to 100, you're like, I left out the.
No, you didn't. You're like, some of these are not great.
Yeah, just don't roll in the 80s and you'll be fine. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good to see. All right. So let's do this.
Yeah.
All set?
All set.
Okay. Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly. Oh, before we get started, Brinkwatch 2023. We are up to what the heck day is it now? It is day 251.
Wow, 251, yeah.
Yeah, so the 3 black halflings are still waiting, and perhaps they've probably had children since then, and it's possible that there's a you're going to have a generational, because the gestation on hobbits is pretty short, right?
Is it?
I don't know.
That's not something I particularly want to discuss.
But yes, so Kyle, hashtag resign Kyle. We'll see if he survives the 50th anniversary. That's what we're waiting for. Maybe it'll be like Bilbo's birthday. He's gonna just disappear.
111?
Yeah, disappear on the 50th anniversary of Wizards as a symbol
of that. Thank goodness. That's a lot closer than I was the 50th anniversary of Brinkwatch. I was like, it'll be pointless by then.
He'll be dead. But maybe he'll disappear for the 50th anniversary event. Okay. Just to prove that he's not to be involved in this hobby. All right. So this week on the Weekly, the Ironforge, anyhow, the AI art backlash. Let's pick it up from there. Yes, right, AI art backlash for Terraforming Mars. Yep. Tainted Grail gets a TTRPG.
Oh, okay.
Ad Astra for Mutant Year Zero, and Cohors Cthulhu details come out.
Okay.
They're not quite at crowdfunding yet, but a little more on their D20.
All right.
So let's begin with, what are they called? the company that produces Terraforming Mars.
Is it Stronghold?
Stronghold.
There
Thank
you go.
I thought there was some iron in there. Stronghold Games. Terraforming Mars creators will not be using AI for the next project.
Oh, for the next project.
Yes,
okay.
but what they're doing now doesn't seem to be. They just keep saying terrible things that don't encourage anyone to work with them. So I don't know how they're going to do this. Right. So let's step into some first world, third world talk that they seem to be convinced exists. Okay. This is nice. So, and some of the names associated with Stronghold is Fryx Games, F-R-Y-X, Fryx Games.
Fryx, okay.
And that involves Enoch Fryxelius.
Okay.
So this may be, Terraforming Mars may have been created by Martians. I'm not exactly sure. Okay. But they defended their use of AI on Facebook, as you do. But did state that they won't be using AI for their next project.
Okay, they defended.
Yes, the current use.
The current use, yes. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they actually defend it, or did they just say we've used it?
Well, yeah. Here's what they said. So the full there's a full. If you go to Facebook for the full transcript, and basically, so we heard Travis Worthington did the interview that kind of kicked this off. Mm-hmm. One of the creative leads. And also in that defending the use of AI on their Kickstarter. So their Kickstarter, I guess, was titled "More Terraforming Mars." Raised $200 million, or broke the $200 million mark almost. And then we get this odd statement from Fryxelius and his brother Isaac, and Enoch. So I don't know if they were born in this century. They may be ancient people. Generating artwork using AI, so no one has lost their job or is being replaced by AI. So he stated, quote, illustrators will lose jobs and there's no way to turn back the time on this technology. And the Fryx Games itself employs numerous brothers and sisters. So I want the whole family tree. I want to see all these names for the Fryxelius clan. Okay. Numerous brothers and sisters. I have no idea their relationship of this company, but they're the ones that are talking. And so they basically, Worthington said that they are not attempting to deal with the ethics of using AI. The long-term impact is going to be, some illustrators will lose their jobs. But basically, they're moving forward. This is the wonderful part of this quote. They're moving forward with their next project, a cooperative Viking game called Fates, which will have a Western illustrator. We spared no expense, so this guy, we're going to pay this Western illustrator the big bucks. Mm-hmm. So we have paid tens of thousands of dollars to those illustrations, have those illustrations made, and not even by some Eastern European illustrator or Asian illustrator, but actually by a Western, someone living in the Western world will be doing all the illustrations. That's crazy expensive. So yikes! Let's be careful here. I know you weren't born in this century, but let's kind of update your thinking about like.
Why would you even say this?
I don't know.
Why would you even say this? Why would you make okay? My feeling about AI aside, if you're kind of got taken to task for using AI and people are kind of right, I understand. Saying artists are losing their job, but whatever. Okay, we messed up. Our next project is 100% human art, and we've paid tens of thousands of dollars for the illustrations. Right. That's all you had to say, right? That's all you had to say. But
it's a Western illustrator. Don't you want to emphasize the fact that this person is of Western heritage?
I don't know. Apparently you did. Why you would do that, I really don't know.
That's an interesting move.
Did you want to say that it's a Viking game?
Oh, yeah,
right? Right. You saying that, it started to sound bad, right? If you go, thinking about it from another perspective, right? Mm-hmm. Sure, there are some there are some settings where having someone of different ethnicity, different descent, right? You can go, why are you illustrating this? Right? Why are you doing this? Right? It's kind of like writing, right? If you write about, it's especially like Asia recently, where it's like, anyone on this team Asian? No? What are you doing? Right.
Right.
So maybe I can understand the intent of saying, okay, we have a game. And I would definitely stay away from using the word authentic, right?
It's authentic. Nope, it's pure of blood.
No. See, you don't want to go there, right? Right?
Sorry.
It was just like, okay, we have a game. It's inspired by this region, this culture, and we've gotten someone from that region culture to illustrate it, right? Maybe that's what they were trying to say. They garbled the fuck out of it, right? I don't think so. That's me being generous to this statement, right?
Yeah. I guess that's true, because you could, reverse that kind of cultural appropriation thing and say, why are Koreans drawing Vikings? But the same way that why are Western illustrators?
Okay, like I've been out of Magic for a long time, but like within the past 2 or 3 years, there was a Viking themed kind of set, and there was some uproar about like, what are all these colored people doing in the setting, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's kind of different, but like it can kind of be the same thing. So anyway, that doesn't seem to be what they're saying here. So yikes.
Yeah. So I don't know, and I haven't heard of. I just heard of Stronghold Games, and then the Indie Games or whatever, that is like kind of the parent company, Indie Game Studios. So the owner. So I don't know where. So maybe they are the parent company or the owner of many of these small studios, so they should keep these guys quiet. I don't think Enoch needs to be on Facebook.
Well, see, Facebook's pretty old, right?
Yeah, right. That's true. Maybe it's the only technology that is familiar with. But anyhow, their next product is 100% human-made graphics and Aryan of origin.
Yeah, see, that's the thing you don't want to say.
Sorry. That's right. I'll ask them to remove that. That's probably...
Yeah.
So weird. Yeah, but it's just weird to say not those Eastern European
and like that's it. Like
as if there's no legitimacy in like pictures of Eastern.
I don't know what this right?
Ouch.
Yikes. Yeah, Enoch ought to not be allowed on Facebook.
No, I don't know. Yeah, moving on. But let's so our war against technology and the upcoming
Butlerian jihad all the way.
Yes, it's coming.
I understand why they smashed those fucking computers. Yeah.
Yes, we will be very familiar with those motivations very soon. But a humorous aspect to AI is they've just found that Warhammer has been scraped by AI, and there was somebody on Reddit or something that did a very funny. They asked ChatGPT to write like 40K rules, and it gave them like a 30 or maybe even like 60 step like phase of combat to determine.
Hey, you know what can't be any worse than what Games Workshop actually puts out? Zing.
So the ChatGPT it understood the vibe of like what overcomplicated Warhammer, but in this case it was the Bloomberg GPT that has it's discovered that they have scraped 15 pirated Warhammer books to be included in both Meta's Llama and Bloomberg's Bloomberg GPT.
We're talking fiction books.
Yes, we're talking the text of Black Library's books. So some Horus Heresy and some 40K, which is pretty funny. If that's going to be if the grimdark 41st millennium is going to be part of Chat GPT, it's pretty funny. So
you're going to be using Chat GPT and it's going to spit out something blah 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 for the Emperor.
Right, exactly. But that's actually on the low side compared to some other publishers. So they're talking about the database contained 170,000 books of totally unauthorized, copyright stolen scrapes. So very HarperCollins, Penguin Random, Oxford University Press, everybody got their stuff scraped and added to this database. So pretty depressing that this just keeps going on. But if they're gonna eventually piss off somebody big enough to do something about it, although not a lot of people are bigger than Microsoft, so it'll take a couple of big guys to kind of team up. But just some of the titles, they listed some of the authors and books. So Dan Abnett's Legion was one of the ones in there. John French's Araman Exile. Some funny, just some interesting, the C.L. Werner's Blood for the Blood God. That should add some interesting flavor.
I don't think I've read any of these. I haven't read that many Warhammer 40,000 novels, but I don't think I've read any of these.
Yeah, so it's just a kind of a random sampling, like it's probably just some PDFs, like converted EPUBs or something that were just uploaded online that their little crawlers found. So that was pretty funny. So it's the book 3 kind of scrape that these tools are using to access this. There'll be all kinds of fun things included in our dark AI future. Jeez. But so I guess that will make the Black Library kind of immortal if it's been incorporated into AI
maybe.
already. So we'll see. So moving on to more dark fantasy. So the board game Tainted Grail by Awakened Realms is getting a tabletop RPG. Okay. So they've already released a bunch of expansions for this. And so it's a dark fantasy co-op board game and very storytelling, like very narrative. You're like reading text. You're basically
Gloomhaven-esque? At least in maybe
it's
theme and scope.
no hexes. I think you're just moving into zones and areas and like confronting, like you're fighting, like the combat's pretty brutal and you're fighting things in different zones, but it's not strategic in that way where you're like positioning and like trying to get the timing of attacks for doing some bonus damage. But it's based on the legends of King Arthur, kind of a twisted dark version of King Arthur, and now they're getting an RPG. So the original game is Tainted Grail: Fall of Avalon.
Okay.
That debuted in 2019. I thought it was earlier than that. And basically, there's a strange fog over the whole world, and called the Weirdness with a Y. Okay. And you move across the board and uncover. You reach these points that kind of keep it at bay, and you encounter strange creatures, but it's all very Arthurian themed. Okay. So they call it a punishing, dice-free gameplay with combat encounters and social dilemmas. Yeah. So in the story itself, it kind of like you make a choice and then it closes off options. And so all this was written by a Polish fantasy author, Krzysztof Piskorski. And so it was his kind of dark Arthurian setting. And so they're going to continue that in this tabletop game, which will be called the first expansion, the spinoff was called Tainted Grail: Kings of Ruin. So the new tabletop RPG is Tainted Grail: Song of a Dying World. And so it will follow and it'll include aspects of the board game, like the Weird, and then what they added, a plague called the Red Death that exists in the game setting. So it's all fun.
Setting just sounds like it sucks.
It's fun. So a Gothic medieval. Oh yeah, and the world is the system that they will use is the Gothic medieval RPG Shadows of Esteren. They'll use that system to run the RPG. The characters will be known as the Guardians of Avalon. They'll have domains and disciplines, 5 attributes, and ways, which will be their kind of motivations and moral standing. So maybe kind of role play assists and things you can go against or go with.
Why have I heard Shadows of Esteren before?
I don't know. Yeah, that didn't sound familiar. Yeah, it didn't sound familiar to me. But yeah, they're building it on that system. And there'll be narrative arcs and an ascension system, which I think is basically their leveling. So a nice deadly RPG, possibly, and
well, I mean, okay, just on principle, I'm going to have to check it out because it's not 5e or something big, right?
Yeah, good point. And so an interesting little quote from when they're talking about the system: characters' psyches will be put under strain, risking fear or frenzy if not overcome. So, here's the Asterion. The maker of Asterion is Studio Agate. Studio Agate, which they're going to do a crowdfunding campaign on both Kickstarter and BackerKit in November. Okay. So we'll get to see more details about that. So they're going to do a core rulebook with the basic rules, backgrounds, and everything, and then a deluxe version. So the core rulebook will be $50, $150 for the collector's edition that will have a screen, dice, maps, and all the bells and whistles and extra stuff. So if you like that game, and kind of the stories that they told in the board game itself and wanted to tell them yourself, this might be a good opportunity. Plus, you're going to have a ton of miniatures to use for the game. So they keep doing that. They keep if you do it an RPG about a board game, there's incentive then to back it because look at all the miniatures you have sitting there.
Why not?
Yeah,
right? Yeah. And I've kind of said this before, I think, or something similar. If there's already a board game, and if the board game is like kind of narrative with these like quests or objectives and stuff, like that would give players familiar with the board game an idea of what to do in the TTRPG.
Right.
It wouldn't necessarily give someone like me who would like jump onto the TTRPG any idea of what to do. So hopefully something like that is included in the book. But if it's successful, I guess it also gives publishers an idea of, okay, well, the board game had these quests. Let's translate that or port that over or use that to inspire a kind of scenario booklet or something for the TTRPG. So
Yeah.
I see the appeal of doing this.
Right. There's an interesting back and forth between that too, because recently I think it was at Gen Con, the Artus Telsarian made the announcement that their Witcher RPG is on hold because the studio that does the video game, which is what the RPG is based on, it's not based on the books, is in development for like Witcher 4, and it's going to be 2 years, so they don't want to share any of those details. So they basically have no source to base their game on, nothing to write on, and nothing to expand on. So they have to wait 2 years before they do anything. So they said, the game is on hold. We don't know the future, and because they're going to probably have to renew a license.
Okay.
But I thought that was interesting. So the same thing might happen with board games, too. They're like, wait, we're working on the next sequel. We can't share that with you yet for your game, so wait until we do it ourselves.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's something I hadn't considered with a licensed property that was, I guess, kind of still active,
right?
Because, I mean, there must be something, or if there is something in like that agreement, like our Talsorian Games is probably prevented from saying, okay, well, we're going to make our own stuff, right? You're like, no.
Because they could move faster. Yeah, they could release that and then spoil,
Well, I understand, like, if it was based on something the studio was doing. But if the game studio just went, we're going to make our own, right? Then they're probably prevented from doing that, right? So,
yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. There's guidelines and they can't, they can't...
just do whatever they want.
Yeah, right. They can take things in various ways because they have to have continuity probably with whatever they're doing. Yeah, so I thought that's interesting. So talking about things that are still being supported.
Talking about things and stuff, right?
Things and stuff. That's a good segue, isn't it? So things that are still being supported and so happily supported. We just heard that Mutant Year Zero is going into space. They're getting support with a new expansion called Ad Astra. So you can pre-order that now. And when this release comes, you're also going to see the release of the all of the Year Zero core books, because things like Mechatron are completely out of print, so they're impossible to get unless you want to pay crazy prices. Right. So it's great they're going to go back and reprint those books, and that they're supporting, because this is their Mutant Year Zero, their take on Mutant, the '80s Swedish roleplay game, and what they created their D6 system for. So, it's nice to see that they're still supporting this. But Ad Astra, the little blurb they have about it is, through the tiny portals of the space capsule, you see the city hanging weightlessly beneath the stars, like a huge hanging mobile over Earth, the poisoned cradle of humanity. Drawing closer, it becomes clear that there's something wrong with this star city. You float past large holes, torn wires, and cracked satellite dishes. It seems the apocalypse reached all the way to the heavens. I thought that was pretty flavorful.
It is. And gloomy.
Yeah, right. And so your mutants, your person that is suffering on the dying Earth is now going to suffer in the dying space, in the vacuum of space. So from the devastated surface of Earth into orbit. So if you pre-order now with Free League, they'll of course send you the early access PDF immediately, so you can take a look at what they're doing. And it was nice. They announced that they're going to reprint all of their core books. So that's Mechatron, and then the anthropomorphic animals one, Gene Lab, I think. Yeah.
That sounds.
Yes. So and really fun. Like I really thought they did a nice job with that. So basically, the core book is human mutations, and then it's robots that have gone like how the kind of AI and robot world got corrupted, and then taking mutations even further with anthropomorphic animal characters. And they really did. If you don't have a good sense of the setting, if you take a look at the trailer for the PC game that they did based on Mutant Year Zero, it gives you a really good idea of the kind of the survivalist flavor, like what still exists and how people organized after the apocalypse. It's a really nice setting. But Ad Astra has been written by Jens Alms and illustrated by Kim W. Anderson, an award-winning comics writer and artist, putting this together. So so it should look and be written very well. So and Mutant Year Zero won the Silver Ennie in 2015 for Best Rules, and six Ennie nominations, and then for the 2015 Games Expo won Best Roleplay Game. So it's well worth taking a look at. If you've never seen it before, and if you've played it in the past, this is yet another thing to do with your characters. So if you have some robots or animals, send them into orbit. So they're getting painfully close to the Mutant Chronicles. Like eventually, okay, now people have left the Earth, and your characters have left the Earth. Have they formed tribes? Have they formed tribes yet? Have they harnessed the irradiated animals to... we want the Sons of Rasputin can't be far behind. The original Mutant was published in... 84, and the new version, Mutant Year Zero, was 2014. That's crazy, yeah. So
only 10 years ago.
No, but I mean, yeah, they revived it, and this was for the English-speaking market as well, because they produced it in both languages. So yeah, I like that text that they kind of set stuff up with, and they also said that this will work as a direct continuation. If you played the Path of Eden campaign for the original Mutant Year Zero, this works as a direct continuation of that. Okay. So they kind of like maybe have some narrative hooks and things that take you straight
into space.
Yeah, into space, into a dead space station with a lot of horrible things aboard. But so I think that's a fun thing to do. And they also released, I didn't hear much about it, but they, after Gene Lab, which I believe is what it was called, they did a kind of a city in the sky, and I'm not sure how connected that was, but they did kind of a I'm blanking on the name, but a city of survival,
okay.
Like people that aren't just scrounging around on Earth. I can't remember what that was called. Someone in the chat is probably saying it right now. Yeah, Gene Lab Alpha. Thank you, Matt.
That's right.
That was the name of the and the one, it was like Elysium or something. But but it was it was the system again, and I'm not sure if it was pre-apocalypse or post-apocalypse, but it was this.
Maybe it could be both.
Yeah, perfect. This perfect city. So yeah, there's a big variety of settings and character types, and I think it's really fun that you can play. So basically, you could play these different settings and then pick your favorite character. Did you like your raccoon? Did you like your robot? Or did you like your guy with the crab claws? Who do you want to take into the next part of the campaign?
None of them.
So so available for pre-order now. You get the PDF, and then it's coming out later this year. So that's Ad Astra by Free League for Mutant Year Zero. And finally, we got some details. We've been hearing about this forever, and they've been doing like various promotion, and I think there was like play testing you can get involved with. But the Cohors Cthulhu by Modiphius is soon to come to Kickstarter, and it's going to be using their 2D20 system. Okay. So this is another original setting, another Cthulhu original setting for Modiphius. So not a licensed IP. So that this is something they're going to care about and probably keep supporting because it's theirs. They own it. So the 2D20 system they call a cinematic RPG rule set. And originally created when they did the Mutant Chronicles, their first title that Modiphius released using this system. And people I think there's a lot of love or hate with 2D20. I've been enjoying it. It works really well with the Star Trek setting.
Well, like you said, so Mutant Chronicles was the first 2D20. I don't know what was next, but then we've also seen like Conan, John Carter of Mars, Star Trek.
There's an Infinity.
There's an Infinity 2D20.
Infinity.
Okay.
I think that was a pretty early one too.
And I don't know the timeline, but like you've talked before about how you can see kind of the system progress and kind of get refined with each of these games. So I have to think that this kind of being like the latest one, Cohors Cthulhu, is going to use all the stuff they kind of learned through the development of the previous games. So hopefully the system would be pretty decent.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope that this is another. They got the system to fit the setting well, and it's another kind of evolutionary step in the 2D20.
I do have to wonder what the stats are going to be like.
Yeah, they talk a little bit about that. So this setting is a setting of ancient Rome. So you can either play Germanic tribes or senators on the floors of the Senate in Rome, and they will have a new attribute called gravitas, which will be added, allowing the characters to make arguments and act with seriousness and dignity, which is uncommon for RPG players. And so earlier versions of 2D20, of course, have had bullets and firearms, and this is going to be focused, like Conan, going to be focused on melee weapons. It will still include bows and spears and javelins, but they're going to include things like reach and guard in melee combat to give it a little bit more strategy. So their previous original property that uses the system as well was the Achtung Cthulhu, which is kind of Cthulhu weird World War II, and Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of used it. The that I need to go back to that, but originally looking at that was one of those, like, Star Trek really did work how they refined 2D20. Conan didn't feel it was like representing that setting. It wasn't. I think John Carter did a better job with the pulpy kind of craziness of the setting, and Conan, and there's a lot of people that love that game, so we get comments every time we mention it. But it just didn't feel. It felt generic. It felt a little just too generic.
I think I took advantage of like the going out of or the lost license sale, and I think I maybe have PDFs of like all the Conan 2D20 stuff. Haven't looked at it. I remember when I looked at like the first one, I was kind of disappointed to see that the stats were very D&D-esque, right? Like strength, agility, all that kind of stuff. Where like John Carter of Mars, it was like bravery, valor. I forget the other one, right?
Like
but it was more,
yeah. So, and I think it's interesting because the influence on game design is not only mechanical and in your kind of your new theories or new approaches to mechanics, but it's also economic. So maybe their early 2D20s, they weren't seeing the popularity they hoped for, and so that let's make Conan a little bit more like 5e, so it feels more familiar, more comfortable, and that may have been their kind of their motivation or their guidance. So yeah, there's both economic and like aesthetic and mechanical reasons. So that's interesting to see that they did that. That's like, we want this to be recognizable to people. And then with John Carter, like, screw that, let's just do Super Pulp and have well,
that's kind of what it is.
Yeah,
I still want to make that game or something like, oh no, it's that asshole John Carter. John Carter in the books, like, he's the protagonist in looking at a modern lens. Like, no, dude is an asshole, right?
No, but I think that's the intention because this is like, we're talking like turn of the century, turn of the century writing. And so it's pretty amazing. And I think maybe, I haven't read much Tarzan, but I think Tarzan does this too, where it's like this rationalist approach where you're coming from you're coming from a Confederate soldier where slavery is normal into a setting where he's got to like reassess all of his values. but he's confronted with that. And I think that was like, the author's intention to try to make him, just kind of understand, why so what he comes into is like romantic ideas and everything don't function, and the way that the races of Mars, resolve things, he has to adapt to. But I think that's interesting, and I like that. But it's the same, that thing carried over, like when the characterization of Superman, and there's so many characters that kind of are. The John Carter's their ancestor, where Superman could have just effed things up on Earth. And he could have, I want that wife and this kingdom, and I am now War Master of Earth. And so the way that, and even though it was it was a very warring culture on Mars, and he became warlord of Mars.
Yeah, he did.
But there was like compassion and rationality to what we don't agree on that.
I do not agree. I do not agree at all. But anyway, okay, back to Cohors Cthulhu.
Yes, Cohors Cthulhu. Yes.
I'm curious. I'm curious about the stats. Since it is Cthulhu, I mean, I'm thinking about like the Cthulhu mythos stories where it doesn't matter how much of a physical badass you are, you're just going to get your shit wrecked. So it sounds like they're going with melee weapons and stuff like that. So there's going to be some combat. I mean, you probably will going to have to like fight cultists or other stuff. But I would almost want to see the focus be on, cool, you are senators. What are you going to do with this, right? Because usually the correct answer when you go up against Cthulhu is run, right?
Right, yep.
Or be lucky enough to find like some magic thing that at the cost of your sanity puts things back, right? I don't know.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So they do talk about hidden facets of the player characters in this new system, and things being campfire tales, secret truths, and hidden talents. Okay. So there will be things that make the characters a little more interesting than your straightforward role-playing characters. And they have the choice of leaving aspects of the characters undefined, and then through play they're discovered as the character is involved. So I like there's some games that have been doing that lately, and even Star Trek does that as well, because you have values in Star Trek, and if you don't have a really strong idea of like who your character is at the beginning, you can create them as you're interacting with the kind of moral decisions and ethics of the different adventures, and then kind of and add those in. So I think that's an interesting way to play, because a lot of people don't have a really strong, this is the archetype I'm using to build this character. It's based on this fictional character. I have a really strong image. If you don't, you can through gameplay.
No, I like that, because I mean, sometimes you have a really strong idea. Sometimes you're just like, I don't know. I want to kind of find out. Or other times, the flip side, you're like, I built them like this, and they're playing completely different, right? Yes. Like that's all happened. So like I like the let's find out kind of approach through play approach. So,
and another thing they mentioned, so Rome being so large and so absorbing to so many cultures, so they're going to give you a whole range of, like, everything in the Roman Empire is possible as a character.
Please don't attach stats to that.
Yeah, you're right. And there will be stats. So they specifically say there is no caste system that indicates that any one caste is better than another, but characters will be a part of character creation.
Maybe that's that maybe not gravitas, but something.
Yeah,
right?
So something.
There's got to be, because you're either going to have to play it like kind of, I think I would say, close to historically accurate, where like, nope, these are the castes or these are the class systems, and navigating between them is going to be part of the challenge of gameplay.
Right.
Or I think got to be a bit more like, okay, it was this way, but we're going to ignore that for playability. However, there's going to be like a status stat or something, or some kind of like some kind of meta currency where you can kind of spend it. You either got to go one or the other, I would argue.
That's a good point. And they're mentioning also that there will be a fortune and momentum mechanic, so similar to previous 2D20s. And I think momentum works well. I think it's interesting, and once it kind of clicks, because that happened with John Carter. He's like, I just need to roll for something, and it's risky because things could go very wrong, but I need to be generating this currency, so once things get bad, I have things to spend, like I'm more capable early on. So I think it's fun to once the players get their characters into that economy, it makes a lot of sense, and it feels like it builds in a nice way.
Yeah. It's kind of like it sounds like the fate point mechanic thing, where it's like once you get it, you're like, nope, without this kind of economy, the game kind of falls flat. So let's all work together so that everything's kind of flowing around.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And failed rolls and stuff and complications are interesting. They're not just like, oh, we just ran into a wall and now we're
didn't do it.
Yeah. And so you'll be facing off against mythos cults in the 2nd century Rome in Cohors Cthulhu. And I thought for sure this seemed like the early announcements, they're also talking about a miniatures game for this as well, because I remember the way that they showed it, it looked like and Modifius loves miniatures, so I'm sure in this campaign we're going to see something because they've made miniatures for everything so far. Star Trek and John Carter, everything's gotten miniatures, and they produce them for the Kickstarter and the crowdfunding, but what's nice is they stick around on their web store as STLs.
Okay.
And sometimes they go like a humble bundle or whatever. They'll give you a set of those. So if you're interested in any of those settings and just want the miniatures, Modifius is still selling them in digital form. Yeah, so I'm curious about this setting and how they're going to handle it, because it is a very unique Cthulhu setting. It's odd, and they did World War II, and now they're going 2nd century Roman Empire. So I think there may be some fun and kind of inspired kind of things that can happen. And I guess cults and stuff make sense because Rome especially was like, okay, we're going to try to install our religion over yours. You can practice your religion, but here, you got to do this too. And
it's called this now.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how Cthulhu worship figures into Rome's plans. But so that's coming out. You can sign up for a notification right now. It's the campaign hasn't started, and I'll put a link to the page where it's coming soon. All right, so that's going to do it for this week.
Yeah.
So where can people find you?
Not on X.
No.
Okay, I'm not deleting my account, but end of the month, I'm just not using it anymore.
But how far are you into the biography of the brave little Dutch boy?
Not at all.
Oh, you haven't started? Oh. I want to get to the part where he impregnates the CEO of one of his companies and thinks that's a good idea. Yeah. Anyhow.
Moving on. So, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky, and that's Hivemind, HYVEMYND, where not a lot, except I'm still doing every once in a while little pixel art dungeons, just because I feel the need to make something. Right?
Nice.
So how about you?
I'm kind of still doing. So it's been very busy. My schedule's been terrible the last couple of weeks. So the first time I've missed 2 weeks in a row for the art live stream. Yeah. So that I'll be back. So yeah, it was
I'll be
for
back.
4 years, 4 years, and I haven't missed a week, and now I've missed 2 in a row.
All right,
But
you've earned it. Man.
yes, yeah, it's summer, right? Late summer. Abuse Cartoons on YouTube and Twitter, Twitch. Sorry, YouTube and Twitch, and I draw I draw my single panel gag cartoon, Domestic Abuse, and you can read that cartoon at gocomics.com/domesticabuse and Abuse Cartoons on social media of various places.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yes. And if you'd like to support what we're doing with the weekly, first you can visit upturntable.com, which is the website where the video and the audio and everything exists, as well as the other things we do, unboxings, actual plays, all that good stuff. And to support us directly, consider becoming a weekling.
Yes, the strongest of all supporters.
And thank you to the weaklings that already
Thank you
exist.
to the weaklings that already exist.
Patreon.com/upturntable to become a weakling or any other various supporters, and you can connect with us there. And they're actually starting focused chat groups and stuff within Patreon. So so more directly we can communicate, because right now I think we're just using like Discord mostly. Right. But we'll have an Patreon patron chat, so you can all the weaklings can assemble and tell us what
weaklings
they hated.
Assemble.
And, so Upturned Table on all social media. And that's where you can find us, and tell us what you think. And thank you to all the patrons and members, YouTube members as well. So click join below this video or anywhere on our YouTube channel to support us there, and you get access to the same member content. But the only thing that's not available, Patreon gives you the RSS feed of this audio, so you can hear the full conversation. Yes, full conversation, unedited, whether that's good or not.
You decide.
Yes, and so that'll be it for this week. We'll be back next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye. All right. Oh, well, I'm glad Chris could make it. It seems like things have calmed down. Gotta be careful. I'm off mic a little bit. Things have calmed down at work as far as infection, so that was lucky. But great. Good to see you, Matt. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I didn't know the background of the Frisk. Franks. I have no idea that Franks Games. But yeah, Matt said I think they merged with Stronghold under the indie board game deal. Oh, great. Yeah, their artist for their Viking game is a relative. It sounds like there's a huge clan with incredibly old names. Nice. Oh, yeah, C.L. Warner, one of Matt's favorites. Nice. And yeah, that's good. I'm glad. And I'm glad to see Free League was supporting Mutant Year Zero. I mean, their system, many of their games now are based on what they came up for that. So that's good that they're reprinting the books as well. Yeah, and they've got their miniatures game coming out. That should be, I haven't seen a recent update, but their skirmish game that's based in the Mutant Year Zero is should be out very soon. I can't wait to see that as well. Yeah, so there'll be a lot of Gene Lab Alpha characters to play in that as well. Yeah, we should definitely, since that's getting reprinted, I should get each of those settings because I really enjoy. I've got the core book for Mutant Year Zero, but I enjoy that system, and I think it would be fun to play some post-apocalypse. Matt saying 2D20 could scale back the meta currencies a bit. Yeah, I don't know how necessary or interesting determination is. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. The way that in Star Trek they have determination, so you interact with your values. So they're trying to make, role play reasons. Yeah, they're trying to make it connect. But I noticed, especially for the game master, that's a lot to keep track of because we're only playing with 3 players. I couldn't imagine playing with like 4 or 5 players and keeping track of 4 value statements for each one of those players, and knowing in a certain situation, we'll be interacting with that definitely, and we'll be able to challenge that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about the Cohors Cthulhu. I really want to see that because I think that's interesting, and they'll support it because it's their original setting. I don't know. I'm very curious about it, and I like 2D20. I don't have anything against it. I think it gets implemented better and worse in various, and that's something we need to try too. Is the Dune game, the 2D20 Dune? I'm curious what you guys would think of that. I think that takes the creating advantage or opportunity and complication. It takes that to a whole different level because you're creating things you can play on this. Kind of a boots on the ground character, or you play as the house, your royal house, and so you can play in this kind of meta way, but this kind of like god view of the game, and send troops and things, and those are roles as well. So you set forces, to do things, and you roll to see what effect that has, and then when you play your individual character, you've kind of set the stage or set the environment either to an advantage, or if you failed, as a disadvantage to going in and negotiating or going in and attacking. So there's some interesting stuff in there because of the way that the game has 2 scales. But it seems interesting. Hey, Miguel, how's it going? Yes, gravitas does seem like something we need in real life. Yes, I agree. Yeah, Romans means slaves. Yeah, so they're going to... Yeah, that's true. They're going to get some flack for that. If their caste system will include a slave caste and everything. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. And if they're going to mix have every culture that exists in the Roman Empire kind of playable in the game, and how they interact, and they're going to have to round off some edges of things, round off some corners of things, and see how it works. Yeah, so we will see. There's a subsect of a very vocal activist that won't care about slaves in Rome because it's not transatlantic. Oh, interesting, Miguel. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the that's the thing, is that it's and I guess it's just because the modern the modern cultural setting, or the modern stage for argument, it's all about the Atlantic. That the word slavery just instantly conjures that for anybody arguing on social media. And they don't even think about the kind of stuff that's going on in Asia and the Middle East now, where these and even North Africa, where things still exist. It hasn't been completely eliminated. Just Europe has stopped participating so heavily. Very good point, Miguel. Okay, come on, another legendary property. Oh, that'll be great. Yeah, we have to keep springing these on Will. Blade Runner and Dune. Yeah, it's just and I am impressed by how well Will can play a character in a setting he has no. Because Chris and I were just talking about that with these. If you play a board game and then play the tabletop version, an RPG of it, the setting, you kind of know how things work, or what the kind of expectations, or what you're doing, and it's very impressive that Will can navigate playing a replicant and not having been, for decades had that kind of in his head as something from pop culture. And still, it felt very Blade Runner. It worked really well, and his like vicious turns and stuff made a lot of sense. And it was really, that's really, really fun. I like the, I like that. So Dune has to come up soon, and especially if they're going to do a, I don't know. I think maybe Modiphius, I think, supports Foundry as well. But if they did an alchemy Dune, that would be beautiful. It would be really nice to play Dune. Hey Abyss, how's it going? Good to see you. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Oh, good. I caught up with the chat, I think, so I can respond to things as they happen. Yeah, so I played a session, 1 or 2 sessions of Mechatron. I wasn't in love with that because of the types of robots. Like, you're basically playing like a combat model with a chainsaw arm, or you're playing the what is C-3PO, an etiquette or like diplomatic model or whatever. So you play a talkie or a fighty machine, and there's not a lot of combinations. The thing that was fun is the cards for that worked very well as for building your robot. You got different stat advantages and stuff based on the components that you chose and how you assembled. So it pushed your your processor or your chainsaw arm or your tread, your motorized tread wheels, lower body. So it pushed things certain ways. I wasn't. The adventure wasn't amazing, and it may have just been the timing. But and the characters there it was pretty talk or fight in the characters, and so you were kind of choosing between that, and I think there could have been more variation or more, and maybe there was. It's just the way that we made characters. But the thing that was hard to kind of get in that setting is that first adventure we played had a kind of robot drug. I don't want to spoil anything. I think this is like the starting adventure in the book. A robot drug that you had to investigate, and it was really hard to get your head around, like, what exactly is this, and is this AI have addiction or what? It was because we were kind of doing this police procedural kind of investigating thing and trying to these corrupt robots that were selling this drug, and the drug was just like a USB thumb drive or whatever. So that was a little hard to like kind of get in the spirit of it, and I ended up with a talkie character and didn't do enough talking, and then was completely physically and combat wise very incapable. So protocol droid, thank you, Matt. An etiquette droid, that would be more interesting. Oh, and hey, since we're in our post podcast chat, we can talk about Ahsoka, right? Because that's what we do. So C-3PO, I wonder if that was actually Anthony Daniels in the suit. Probably not. I don't know where they shoot Ahsoka, but Anthony Daniels' voice, possibly, or a sound-alike, C-3PO made an appearance in Ahsoka, and it was kind of depressing because now, unless they're going to do digital representation of people, if they're talking about any original trilogy characters, I mean, they can do they did 3D Luke, so I guess they could bring back the Rogue One Princess Leia, but it was kind of depressing because C-3PO shows up and he says, "I have a message from Senator Organa." Like, okay, you mean dead Carrie Fisher? Yeah, it was just depressing. But I guess they didn't even, when Luke was in Mandalorian or whatever that long the training sequence for with Luke in it. I guess that was an AI voice. So yeah, what a mess. It's getting messy. We'll see recreations. Oh yeah, Abyss watched Ahsoka. Oh no, please join me, Abyss, in the anti-Ahsoka. Yeah. Oh, definitely different actor. Oh, his neck was thicker. Interesting. Yeah, I noticed that immediately about the in the sequel trilogy, Chewbacca. You could definitely tell it was a different actor. Just his movements and everything were different. Just his whole, body. And I guess, you want to make that character your own if you're going to be in the suit for, hundreds of hours and in various movies. But you could definitely tell when it's a different person. I think that's very. Oh yeah, that was something. Yes, it is horrible. Thank you. Okay, Abyss has come to my side. Yes, that interminable dialogue. I expected you to think different of me. Yes, well, I would if you acted differently. I just the dialogue is and maybe that is fine for animation writing, but whoever's writing that show, just, you could tell. I mean, you could have put everything that's happened so far into 2 hours and had a tight, interesting story, but we've had 8 hours of find the map, and here's the map, and open the map, and yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, so they're gonna keep throwing those throwing that nostalgia bait at us. We got some C-3PO. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, but the thing, so speaking of movement and how you can tell it's a different actor, the thick-necked C-3PO, the stormtroopers, what are they? And they could have hinted at something a little more mysterious or, witchcraft based, like kind of dark magic or whatever, by having them move differently, because they're already like these cobbled together, like all messed up, filthy armor with these witch bindings or whatever on them. But they move just like the nervous little, goofy stormtroopers from, from anything you've seen before. If having them move a little different would get across the idea that they were, zombies or magically reincarnated or something weird, and it would have been more interesting if they had a different way that they moved, because we've seen clone troopers and those stupid tripod-looking robots, those thin little prequel droids, battle droids movement. So we have like these different ideas of how these different soldier types move, and they didn't do anything different. There was just one scene in that episode where they like board some transport and just like, oh, they're just like that goofy twitchy movement of just stormtroopers, but they're supposed to be some kind of magicked stormtroopers, so they should have had a slow, like they should have moved slowly or weirdly confidently, like they were animated by something. So they lost an opportunity to give some more flavor to that. It's just like, your stormtroopers just do that weird little nervous thing, but yes, Thrawn is not an impressive, and it's people like critics on like YouTube and stuff keep mentioning that as a point, and that writers can't write above their intelligence. I think you are capable of doing that, but the comment that I keep seeing is why these shows are frustrating and disappointing. So the writers are so stupid and they can't write intelligent characters, so writers can't write characters smarter than they are. So Thrawn is not very impressive in his intellect, but he's basically said, like saying the title of a movie in dialogue, he's basically said, 'cause I guess that's the gimmick of him is he's such a brilliant tactician. He's always moves ahead of everybody, so he can kind of predict what people will do because of his amazing intellect. And he basically said that is, I will stay several moves ahead of Ahsoka, and then we will be able to head her off and figure out her next move. Like, oh, you just said the thing that you are. Okay, cool. Yeah, he should have just said, I'm a brilliant tactician. That's my thing. Or he could have a t-shirt that said that. Yeah, it definitely, it looks nice, but there's nothing in it that I want to look at. There's no cool ships, and a lot of the characters are weird, and the single mom, with their kid in the co-pilot seat is weird, or I guess the widow, right? Yeah, she's a widow. I don't know. But it's really suffering by being a sequel to an animated series that, not a lot of people watched and doesn't have that much interesting going on. And they're kind of tied to some of those things. And there's something that I watched that was talking about just Dave Filoni in general he was always just kind of changing stuff. So a lot of stuff doesn't make sense because he wanted to make it his own. He wanted to have a creative freedom in the animated series. And because it's a kids animated series for, Cartoon Network or Disney Channel or whatever, they didn't care. There's like, yeah, do whatever. Because there's that weird hierarchy of media for an IP, and the movies are the core basically the world building and the thing that can't be changed, can't be contradicted. Then TV is below that, and then animated shows and things are below, and comic books and novels usually go. But now they've got it all this weird approach that Disney has with Disney Star Wars, that it's all equal and everything leads up to everything else, and it fills in the holes and it adds detail to all the other media, and that just doesn't work because it's not produced with the same care or the same skill, basically because they tolerate just things on, especially streaming now. I don't think they have a sense, because it looks like a movie, doesn't sound like a movie, the dialogue, and doesn't have pacing and arcs and tension like it should. So it's odd. Yeah, it's very odd. Thrawn the bumbling tactician. Yeah, the starting sequence where she becomes lighting as the cuts holes under the rope. Oh yeah. That's that was an interesting thing when Hayden Christensen, it's been so long since he was Anakin, but he seems to have all the muscle memory still of all that lightsaber training he had to do for the prequels, because in those scenes where they're dueling in the world between worlds, the thin little walkways between worlds, he seems so much more capable, and they're probably close to the same age. I think Ahsoka and Anakin, the actors, are close to the same age. Yeah, so it's weird, and they're talking about Thrawn in that series like, whoa, oh, he comes back, and oh, that's going to be the end of us, and oh, this is so dangerous. But yeah, they haven't gotten that across on screen. So yeah, it's odd. Sith girl doing the voodoo stairs and weird stances. Yeah, Ahsoka actress is clearly miscast. Yeah, physically. Yeah, she's so stoic. She's playing like a Gandalf character or something. Like there is something weird. Like and I think I don't remember seeing. Yeah, I didn't watch when she comes back in Rebels, and I think the voice actress played her differently. But there's not even any of the old anything in her, like any kind of playfulness or cuteness or anything. It's just all this weird overconfidence, and yeah, it's weird. Show devolves into a kiddie show when the characters have to announce what they're supposed to do every episode, and the constant exposition. Yeah, that's a good point, Abyss. Seen as like 1/3 of the scenes, and it almost it has to be clever and witty, and they have to tell it in a different way. No real person will exposition explains the plot where people stand around and it's funny, they're not even doing the George Lucas prequel like walking and talking. They're literally just standing around talking to each other. Yeah, Miguel. Yeah, I noticed it too. Yeah, Square Enix is doing a big Final Fantasy 14 KFC promotion. Some macaroons and a bunch of That's very funny that they got such a big promotion. Yeah, and speaking, there was what was the Final Square Enix? Oh, they're also doing. That's right. So Square Enix is also doing a Final Fantasy 7 board game. So I guess those announcements we talked about the tabletop Final Fantasy 14 coming out, and they also have the a Final Fantasy 7 board game, because I guess they've got the Rebirth game out or coming out. So lots of Final Fantasy love going on in Japan right now. Yeah, so my daughter is here, and she made a reservation at the Final Fantasy Cafe. So that was like a month in advance, but it looks like it looks pretty crazy from the photos. From the interiors and all the stuff, it looks like it's heavily themed, so I'm sure I'll see some photos after they go. But I can't believe, to go to these themed cafes, I guess because the tourism is so crazy here, you have to get in a line. You're right, only Japan. Yes, can you imagine KFC in the US having Final Fantasy? I don't think they've had any sort of big promos like that. Yeah, so it's pretty funny. I'm sure you can get some stuff on eBay is going to go for crazy amounts, but it's all going to smell like fried chicken. Oh, really? There was a Grubhub promotion. That's funny. No, no cosplaying here. Oh, man. Yeah, by instead of the KFC stuff, even like it just to annoy, just to annoy the players in North America. You can't have this. See this macaroon with this little Moogle on it? It's all mine. What is that? What, I'm getting confused now. Harry Potter and Final Fantasy. Those are Muggles in Harry Potter. It was a Moogle in Final Fantasy. It's crazy. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, so Square Enix is working on the merchandising and promotions. I guess with 10 years of Final Fantasy 14 and that being so popular, I wonder what the numbers. I don't know if we can get true numbers, but I'm sure the player base is as World of Warcraft is dying. I'm sure they're gonna reach even levels pretty soon. Just a red grab. Nice. I can be Red 13. Thanks, Abyss. I was wondering what to do. Nice. Lotion from Donkey. Really? They don't have Final Fantasy lotion. Oh, it's slime. There you go. You can go as a slime. Ew. It's crazy. Yeah, so we'll be doing some the next Star Trek adventure. So the next actual adventure, because we finished it last time, and I think each one of these is probably going to be 2 sessions. It seems like there's too much for one session. If we did like a bigger session, like a 6 or 7 hour, I think we could probably do one. But it's nicer, the pace and everything. It gives I think it gives the players an easier time to kind of figure things out and discuss what's going on, which is a cool thing about the Star Trek RPG. So yeah, we'll be doing our next session tomorrow. So around this time, we'll start. I guess we'll start a little bit later. So yeah, by this time we'll be playing. So yes, tune in if you want to hear the live raw audio of that and see what spooky adventures the characters get in this time. It should be cool because there's going to be a couple of things that are going to come up that'll fit the characters that the players have created well. This particular adventure has some fun stuff to interact with the players, so that it'll be fun. Nice. We're talking about creepy cosplay and lotion. But I think that's going to do it for this week. We'll cut the Ahsoka talk short. But is it one more episode? Is it only 8 episodes? They haven't gotten anywhere enough for. I guess if this is just a series that's just kind of bridging to something, then I guess they did that. But it didn't seem like they got very far. Just introduced a lot of stuff. But yes, so see you tomorrow, Matt. And tune in everyone. So it'll be, unless, I'm not sure if the time change has happened already. Is that in October? Daylight savings in the U.S. But it should be around 1 p.m. our time, Japan time, or 9 p.m. in North America. So tune in for that. Yeah, so it'll be around this time. We'll start probably 2 hours before now. So we'll be finishing in the, you'll be right in the middle. If you tune in at this time, you'll be right in the middle of the session. So about 1 o'clock Japan time. I'm not sure Europe's Abyss. It'll be somewhere in between there, somewhere in between 9 p.m. and 1 p.m. You know, there's a lot of time in there. So, and sometime between Friday and Saturday. So Friday night, or maybe early Saturday morning for you, Abyss. All right. So yeah, take care, everyone, and thanks, Matt, for hanging in there with that mod wrench and fighting off everybody but the kick. I'm glad we didn't get any kick attacks. So take care, everyone, and we'll do this again next week. And tune in for Star Trek. And thanks for members and patrons. Thank you so much for supporting us. And this is going into this audio is in the RSS feed. And sorry it took so long to get things out this week. My schedule has been a mess, but we're back to normal. And see you next time. So goodbye.